You know,
like a bag lady. What's up? What's going on?
Getting well. Let me put it. Here we go. I'm looking more Scottish. It's getting to the point here in Florida where it's just not worth it. Ecuador's looking better and better. Costa Rica's looking better and better because this is uh we're not supposed to have this weather. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live right here on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. We are also simulcasting with KGRADB.com, KGRA on YouTube, and also on Facebook. My name is George Lopez. With me, as always, Mr. Ken DaCosta. Hello, welcome, and good evening. I can't. This will itch like crazy.
You look like 1980s Paula Abdul.
I can't do. Thank you. Actually, I'll take that as a compliment. I had a crush
I
on her.
would, yeah.
Straight up.
Still looks good.
Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the reminder bell and also the thumbs up if you guys enjoy the content tonight, which the content tonight is not the content we had set up for tonight. And Mr. DaCosta will give you guys a little bit of an explanation while I start promoting our show. Go ahead, Ken.
Okay, so in quick order, not to belabor this, at about 7:15 tonight, our guests.
I'm going to belabor this. Our
scheduled guests, Stacy Brown Jr., Bill Brock. We had scheduled them to come on and talk about their research and their filmmaking, documentaries they've made, the movies they've made concerning Bigfoot. Unfortunately, at that point, they had to cancel. So we were faced with the choice of, do we show a rerun of an old Tonight Show episode or something? And we said no. Instead, what we're going to do is go completely anarchy rules tonight. So we might get into a little of the foot tonight. And for those of you who were looking forward to this, our sincere apologies. Are certainly isn't, something that, we planned on. But if you would still like to give us a little bit of your take on cryptids in general, I know we've got some Mothman fans, some Bigfoot fans. Please feel free to do that. Beyond that, we're going to do another one of these shows where questions in chat. We're going to open the phone lines toot sweet. So if you want to get into something, if you have a question for us, comment about the paranormal field, whatever is on topic, whatever you might want to know or might have wanted to know while we had a guest on the show, or something about the guests in general. Shoot, let's just go and do that tonight. We got 2 hours here. Anarchy.
Yeah, maybe we could talk about global warming because it's freaking cold in Florida.
That's great.
It's getting ridiculous. I really am over this, guys. Yeah, and as Ken was saying too, again, we apologize for those of you, maybe KGRA, because there's a lot of you guys that are interested in the ufology and the cryptozoology, and you join us seeing that's okay. We're going to talk about that tonight, and then unfortunately, both of our guests bail less than an hour before the show. So, Bill, our producer, said, you guys are probably just best off. What are two of you with such limited experience and such limited years in the field? What the hell could you guys talk about? Let's do a replay. And we said, hell no, Bill. We're pressing on. We will do what we do best. Yeah, besides the fact that, Ken, when you and I are on the phone talking, it's usually 90 minutes alone, just our conversations on the phone. So I think we can handle this again. You guys
can handle that again. But let's like I say, we'll throw it to some of our loyal viewers out there. There's got to be something on your mind. You can rant, you can vent, you can ask questions, you can give us, if you want to just harumph something, go for it. Tonight's the night. So let's go ahead and do that and have a few laughs.
Let's talk about global warming, or particularly the interesting weather that we have both been having. I think I've done enough of my rant, but Ken, what's the old saying? A picture is worth 1,000 words. What's a video worth?
Oh, it's worth an entire encyclopedia of epithets at this point. So everybody knows that up here in Rhode Island, in New England in general, we got belted. And we like to think of ourselves, at least I do, as swamp Yankees, which is the New England version of a redneck. So we're pretty stoic, oh, it's snowing, big deal. We can handle it. But every once in a while, one comes along, certainly taps you on the shoulder and gets your attention. So we had one of those over a 24-hour period that where I'm sitting right now, looking directly out my window, we got hammered with about 22 inches. Some towns just west of us had as much as 30, and a little bit north of us, 3 feet. So significant storm. Power didn't go out. I have not read about any kind of casualties, so blessings on everybody. But I'm convinced that the bigger the storm, the better it is. And I'll explain why. Because it keeps the natural selection in order. Because when you got 3 or 5 or 6 inches of snow, everybody's riding around bar hopping or doing snow parties and going off the road and smashing into people and getting stuck and putting everybody at risk. When you get this much snow, everybody stays the hell home like they're supposed to. And there's some comfort in that because you'll let the storm go, and when it finishes, then we'll worry about it. That's the way it should be.
Okay. Do you have any proof of what you're talking about, Ken?
Why, I am glad that you said that because I do have proof in a little video here that I will call the Blizzard of 2022. Let's take a look at that. There it is. This is what I'm standing in right now. To give you an idea, this is up over my knees right here. And looking toward the road, they pretty much abandoned us. So we probably won't be venturing out until spring. So how much is the question? Well, probably about 2 feet. It's difficult to measure because the wind was blowing so hard today. Can't really see anything there. I'll just keep it on the road for now. Wind was blowing so hard, it's tough to get a measurement on this, but all things considered, 2 feet of snow up here. A bunch of orbs flying in front of the camera. Yeah, the light went out. Let's see if we can trigger it back on again. And so that's the story in a nutshell. This is the drifting. Those are stairs. You can kind of see the risers a little bit. So you see how high that's blown. But I'm literally, as I said, I am standing my knee, and the snow's up over my knee. I literally had to push the door open to get out the front yard. Morning after. We're all plowed out here. This is nice, a little bit of melt going on. That's where my trash cans are kept outside. So I'll see them next spring. That basketball hoop there, that's regulation 10 feet. So, I mean, that's where our plow truck pushed everything, but it was still about halfway up that last night. So, yeah, this is the residue of, I don't know, they name him now. Was it Keenan? I'm not sure what they named this thing, but he sucks. So, this is the hood. Shoveled out the front steps. That's all looking good. A couple of my neighbors. A couple more of my neighbors. Yeah, so welcome to Rhode Island, January 2022. And that's it. All's well. Never lost power. Welcome to New England, y'all. Yeah, right? Just terrifying. That's worse
Screw
than
that.
any horror movie. And it's like,
Screw
okay,
that.
tell me how it's chilly down there now.
No, I'm warming up. As a matter of fact, as we well, let me tell everybody too. If you saw, and Ken was talking about where the garbage can and the basketball hoop was at, that was the very same garage that Ken and I sat and drank an entire bottle of Onyx moonshine, and then we drunk dialed Jason Hawes. So now you guys have reference.
Yeah, I think
To
it
that
was like
location.
78 degrees when we did that, though.
Oh, it was gorgeous. It was really nice. It was hot.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and then unfortunately you also had to deal with that's pretty horrendous. And just for frame of reference too, when you saw Ken standing in the snow and he said that the snow was up above his knee. Ken is 7'15", so that's about 6 feet of snowdrift that he had to deal with right there.
Yeah, metric.
So we made it through, thank goodness, and we are here again. Guest list tonight, so I guess we are kind of the guests, the hosts, and everything topically we're going to talk about tonight, including Bigfoot. Definitely want to get out some of my own aggravations about the cryptozoology community and what's not been happening. And but we are also going to be taking calls, and we're going to start off again with. And if you guys have questions for us, you have comments and opinions regards to the topics we're talking about, and we may change gears throughout this next 2 hours. You guys are more than welcome to join in and give your opinion. But in the queue right now, I think we have Ronald, our dear friend, calling in from Minnesota. And
never heard of him.
Ronald, how did you deal with this weather in Minnesota? Did you make it out okay?
Oh yeah, I stayed inside. I stayed indoors, and it was nice and warm. 70 degrees inside. Today was pretty warm outside. It was 18 degrees, but I didn't go outside. I said, forget it. I'm not going anywhere.
It's colder than my freezer. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then luckily for us, the wind died down a little bit, and we didn't have the high winds that we had the last few weeks. We had like 20-mile-an-hour winds, and it was minus 15 degrees, and that was from the wind chill, minus 15 to 20 degrees with the wind chill, and it's no fun to be out there. Plus, the snow is blowing all over the road, and you can't see the road. You can't see in front of you 10 feet.
We were pretty consistent here between 50 and 60 miles an hour at the
Hang on for a second. I want to know if this is legit. Because if it is, number one, thank you for your service. And number two, are you spying on us? Just a couple questions I had.
No.
The name is Kimo Sabi, so I'm gonna think it's Fugazi.
I can't tell you, but George, I was going to ask you first off, did you write a book? I know you mentioned it before.
Yeah, yes, I did, and I appreciate you asking me that because nobody ever asked me that, Joseph. So, Ron, so I appreciate it so much. And
There you go.
the one thing is that, and I want to say this again for a lot of you that are in the chat that said, "Yes, George, I got the book finally," or "I got the book," and my wife made me get it because she wouldn't give her book to me. She had a copy, she wouldn't give it to me. So, for those of you that have picked up that book, thank you. Who've read it. And I've gotten the same question, well, two questions time and again. Who was it that tapped her on the shoulder at the end of the book? I can't tell you. And is there a second book coming? Yes, there is. So I appreciate it, though, very much.
Now, are you self-publishing that and sending it to Amazon, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, I'm self-published. And it's funny because I don't know who else as authors gets this. If any of you guys out there have written even, 150-page or 200-page books, and I get these messages constantly. Your book has been considered for, and all it takes is $4,000. I got that one from Netflix. Somebody sent me an email, said Netflix is interested in turning your book into a movie, and all we need is $4,000 from you to get the promotion.
Was this a Nigerian prince who sent you this?
Yes.
That's like if you send the money to somebody that can send you $100,000. If you send it to if you send your account information, it's like, wait a minute.
I need a routing number from you.
Everybody's got an angle, man. I'm telling you, unbelievable. What's your question, Ron?
In these cryptid, like Bigfoot or even aliens, possibly UFOs, possibly. Here in Minnesota, we have a
Poison
creature
ivy.
called the wind. We have the Wendigo. Huh?
Go
The
ahead, Ron. I don't
Wendigo.
know.
The
That was a
Wendigo.
weird.
Yep. Shapeshifter.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yes.
we have the Wendigo, and you can only see him face on. You can't see him edge on. And then if you see him face on, pretty much he's gonna attack you. You're dead. You know.
Yep.
You're
Harbinger of doom.
Yeah. And then we also have the what is that? The one that the two teenagers actually are serving prison in the mental ward for.
Oh, the Slender Man.
Yeah, Slenderman. I could not remember that name for nothing. So,
Hmm.
and these are creatures I would not want to run into on a good day. Just
Oh,
because-
well.
I don't think you're going to have any problem with Slender Man.
Yeah, Ken, that's a perfect segue before we really get into this show tonight.
Sure.
What's coming up on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel, something that you've been working on for quite some time.
Okay, folks, within the next week, we're going to be debuting a new show on Dead Air Full Spectrum. It is called Extremely Strange. And what this is going to be are going to be nice individual tidbits of shows, maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes long, where I'm going to come on and just tell you stories about some bizarre but true things that have happened. A lot of them have sort of a paranormal bouquet about them, and maybe some don't. But these are like really bizarre, interesting stories that, I've come across, and maybe some of you have as well. But I get a chance to give you my take on them. And it's going to be kind of an interactive thing where there's going to be a lot of visuals, and we'll introduce the stories to you and break them down into some detail and just share that with you, because I'm a sucker for those things. I mean, weird but true, fact is stranger than fiction type stories where you can document these things. So we're going to be debuting that probably within the next week or so, and maybe there'll be as many as a couple a week.
Yeah,
that we'll put up there.
one of them is
And
Ron.
one of them is the story of Slender Man. Yes,
There
it
you
is.
Ron, you still there? Yeah, I see him over here. Thank you for the open line. So I think there was a.
Okay.
Okay, so Bill said he let him go. Oh, he never got to his second question fully, did he?
Okay.
That's all
Hey,
right,
we
Ron.
got who else do we got? We got somebody else in queue, right?
Let me check and see right now.
We got
and,
Bear from
we have
Kentucky.
callers. Go ahead.
Hey, Bear. Are you there, Bear?
Do
Yeah,
you
I'm
care, Bear? Okay, ready. How you doing, Bear?
I'm doing well. I was trying to keep up with the show on the other line, so but I don't think I did a great job. So if I repeat, I apologize. But
That's right. You're here now, man.
I'm glad to be here. So I've been interested in cryptids for a long time. I grew up in the backwoods of Kentucky, a lot of Bigfoot legends, a lot of caves around here and such. And I've also been interested in the connection between like spirituality and the paranormal. And I know that a lot of Bigfoot legends contain a lot of spiritual elements in them. And I was just wondering maybe what your thoughts on that were, or if your guests had any, or your would have been guests would have had any angle on that.
Ken, you want to address that? And I guess more so, if you were going to say you wanted to more so nail down the continuity between Sasquatch and Bigfoot with more of the Native American type of spirituality.
Well, that's kind of what I had in mind, but I was wondering if those types of legends spread out among other Bigfoot legends around the world, because I know that different regions have different specific legends that they crop up around. And I don't know. It's something that I've never considered until recently, and I haven't seen a lot of work on it. And I was just kind of wondering what other people thought about that.
Yeah. Well, here's what we know. A lot of native tribes in this country, going back some thousands of years, have depicted or have carved what appears to be larger than normal human beings. Now, depends on what side of this you want to go on, because the UFO people claim they're aliens. Primatologists claim that they're large creatures we know as Sasquatch or Bigfoot. So there is evidence that suggests that these creatures roamed among them. You see them on totems, you see them on rock carvings, and you see them not only here but in other countries as well. Here, you have what I like to call almost a regional kind of population, because every area of the country has something a little different, right? In the Pacific Northwest, Sasquatch, the Ohio Grassman, the Folk Monster in Louisiana, Momo in Missouri. You have the Almas in Russia. You have the Yeti in Tibet. So every culture, it seems, or every country has some variation of that. So somebody saw something, is the way I look at this. Somebody saw something. They're seeing the same things that we see now. And you could probably make a case for they saw them on a much more consistent basis than we do, because we are very much populated now. There is land that's developed. And just like bears, mountain lions, rattlesnakes, we have sort of driven them away. Coyotes to some degree. So they're running out of land as well. In terms of spirituality, I think the absence of proof on Bigfoot leads to speculations, because I believe if it does exist, it's a flesh and blood creature,
Yes,
from our lineage of development. I don't think it's a supernatural being. I don't necessarily think it comes and goes in UFOs. Maybe it's been appropriated by aliens, but I don't think that's its origins. I think of this more as a flesh and blood creature on the evolutionary chain, so to speak. And that's just my opinion. But what happens is, because it is so elusive and proof hasn't come, it opens the door for people to give a lot of speculative explanations for it. Oh, it must disappear at will. It must be a shapeshifter. So all these different cultures, whether it's skinwalkers or the Wendigo, all of these are kind of a mishmash, and they sort of borrow from each other. Okay, so, but in my opinion, I think that if this creature exists, it's flesh and blood and living on the same planet or sharing the same planet that we do, unless somebody, first of all, prove it exists. If we can't do that, I don't see how we could make that quantum leap toward it's a supernatural creature just to explain away its elusiveness. I don't think that's figuring anything out.
no, and I'll tell you what, there's my opinion on this that we'll get to a little bit later on, because the calls are coming in fast and furious, and I want to get everybody the opportunity to either ask their questions or give their opinions on this matter, this topic, or anything else. But we've got Joe in Massachusetts. That's next up on the line for us. I think it's a good friend, Joseph Frezza. But you're
Joe
on
or
live.
Do we have Joe or Jackie?
No, I've got it from him. It's Joe, and then Jackie, and then Michelle. So Joe,
right.
you're online. How are you, buddy?
Go, Joe.
How's it going?
How
Good,
you
man.
doing?
What's going on?
Pretty good. Been digging myself out from the snow.
Yeah, ain't it grand?
Aren't you all?
Oh, it's lovely.
It's a pisser.
Oh, anyway, well, I had a couple of questions. One was, what are your guys' opinions on Mothman?
Okay.
All right. Well, give us both shots right now. What's the other question too?
What was, in this field, the paranormal field, what's one of the most important lessons you learned?
You want to answer the second one first, George, or,
Yeah.
and then I'll
Sure,
circle back around to Mothman if you'd like.
that's fine.
I'll answer the second one first. Ken will answer the first one second. So,
There you go.
as far as the lessons I think that I've learned in this field is that the only thing that matters is your experience, your own experience. You can't translate anything else. You can't translate hard evidence. You can't translate feelings, emotions to someone else and have them be able to share them with you in that same notion. Now, you may come across people in this field who have had similar experiences. That's something without question we all come across. So, where we're at these paranormal conventions, these events such as the Ocean State Paracon, and somebody will say, yeah, I had the same thing happen to me at this location or a different location. So, but that the experiences that we have in connection to anything under the umbrella of the name paranormal, whether it's ufology, cryptozoology, spirit communication, what belongs to us is more important than anything else. Those are the things that we can claim to be our own. Everything else out there is always going to be subject to criticism and skepticism, and that's just part of the game. That's something that we all have to contend with. But that's for me is an important part. I don't know if Ken, you've had one thing that you want to bestow upon everybody, or you want to go straight to the Mothman question?
Listen, there's 500 things that I can say that I've learned from this. That I don't feel the same way about things now that I did maybe 5 minutes ago, because it's ever evolving. But I think the biggest thing is never undersell the human element involved, because at the end of the day, robots aren't giving these reports, humans are. And we're not infallible. We make mistakes. Our memory sometimes is spotty. That's why we always suggest people keep a journal. Write these things down in real time when they happen. Gather yourself. And so it gives somebody like me something to look at because it's fresh in your mind. But patience, compassion, because it's people that are telling you these stories. And we all know, listen, people, sometimes they make up things or they hoax things. And at the very best, sometimes they just misidentify things. Very innocent. They're not trying to deceive you. But this is what we try to do with another set of eyes in a location, is just give a different perspective, because we haven't been affected by the same things that you have. So we kind of bring that objectivity to it. But gizmos and things like that and equipment, great. By all means, test them out. Keep developing them, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, don't undersell the human element involved, ever.
Yeah. And I guess my final addition to that before you go to Mothman is that if you're part of a paranormal team, the important lesson that I've learned is get a team member that is extremely rich.
Yeah, you can afford all these things. Yeah.
Get the equipment, the travel, all taken care of at their expense report.
There you go.
On to Mothman. I have read and learned and watched as much as anybody has on this particular cryptid. I am not completely sold. I think it's a great legend, and we all know about Point Pleasant and the Silver Bridge. And this is, again, Mothman is a harbinger of something that bad is going to happen. And I think that it's, again, something that's attributed to this particular legend. Now, as far as legends, there is always a grain of truth at the heart of a legend. Again, somebody saw something. There's no question in my mind. Where they lost me on Mothman is when I start reading about, they see him in Chicago, or they see him in Miami, or, somebody is appropriating this story. Going back to 1966, the first sightings, a bunch of teenagers in a car had to try to outrun this thing. I mean, we've all heard those stories. I take more credence in them. Now, what did they see? They see a turkey vulture or whatever. I'm going to assume that some people from West Virginia knew the difference. So they saw something that was highly unusual. The problem is, Joe, as time goes on now, everybody starts adding their own little spin on these things. It's kind of like the Slender Man thing. It started off as kind of a joke on Reddit. And the purpose of it was for everybody else to come in and add to the legend. And then it becomes a thing where, wow, this thing is real. It's like it was never meant to be real. But again, I put it in the same category as Bigfoot. You know, I think somebody is seeing something. I don't believe there's a Loch Ness monster, but there are some. I think there's some really important reasons why it doesn't exist. Food source, for example, the amount of fish in Loch Ness that it would take to feed a creature like this just doesn't exist, and it would have to exist for like 5,000 years. So some of these things are common sense, but Mothman right now, it's a great legend. I think I put it in the same categories like Jersey Devil.
Oh,
You know, and the Jersey Devil in and of itself is a great story and a great example of how it's not what you actually think it is. And how the whole legend started. And that's where we got to go back. But the thing is, before 1966, Native Americans, whatever, I know they were seeing Thunderbirds and things like that. But before 1966, there was no Mothman. You know, the Jersey Devil goes back to the 1600s. You know, and maybe someday I'll tell that story. I think I might do an Extremely Strange on the Jersey Devil because it's a really interesting story how that all came to pass. But, you know, I am never going to say never, Joe, on anything.
Yeah. All right. Joseph, thank you so much again. And keep us going in the chat, brother, will you?
you got it.
Keep him in line over there, Joe.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
855-472-5483. That's 85-KGRA Live. We've also got Jackie from Alabama.
Jackie.
Hey, Ken. Hey, George. I got bronchitis, so excuse my voice.
Oh, hey, get better soon, Jackie.
Yeah. Breathe in, breathe out.
Yeah.
Well, breathing in is great, but breathing out is coffee. I agree with Ken. You know, Lord knows. I mean, there are so many creatures out there that's been so undiscovered. You know, the slate is still blank. So, you know, Lord only knows what exists and what doesn't. And I'm not saying that Bigfoot doesn't exist. All right, because I believe it does. But is there any research on anybody finding the remains of Bigfoot out of all the people that go out hunting and walking off the beaten path, you know, doing their life? Is there anybody that has sat there and said, those don't look like human bones?
Oh, Ken, go ahead, because I know you've addressed this before.
Okay. Here's the way I look at it. Jackie, if you're in Alabama, I'm sure you know guys who hunt, or anybody, women who hunt. And for all the hunters out there, I would like any of you who have come across the remains of a mountain lion or a bear, any apex predator on any one of your hunting excursions, let me know. That wasn't already killed and left there by hunters. Most animals, especially apex predators, when they are ill or near the end of their life or wounded, they will disappear deep into the woods where you can't find them for two reasons. The most important of which, they understand that they're vulnerable to other predators. So to protect themselves, they'll go away. So we're not finding bears or mountain lions in the woods either. But when we talk about Bigfoot, where's the body? Where's the body? Well, bring me a mountain lion or a bear. Because if we're talking about an instinctual but yet thinking creature, it's probably going to be the same thing. Second of all, these creatures are going to spend most of their time in a wet climate. When you are in a wet climate, bacteria will claim a body for the earth in about 2 weeks. And you can see that with deer carcasses. Within 2 weeks, between predation, insects, and naturally occurring bacteria, it will just eat away a body and disappear. You know, whether it's 150 pounds, 200 pounds, or 2,000 pounds. So the idea, where is the body? I would just put that in the same category with any large creature out in the wilderness and the instincts that they have to just disappear when wounded or sick. I mean,
Yeah.
I would just draw that correlation there and not get too excited because we can't find a body.
I've always wondered because, you know, I don't know, maybe it's the fever. I don't know. It'd be my luck. I'd go walking in the woods and boop, there'd be a body, you know, it'd just be my luck.
Hey, that's happened to me before. It's another story for another show, but.
And you said that this happens in wetlands.
Yeah, a lot of times what these creatures are spotted in wetlands and in very warm climates. And the combination of those two things will claim a body quick, fast, and in a hurry. You know, combination of that, insects, predation. The earth will reclaim bodies very, very quickly.
Okay, well that explains a lot of other, you know, theories I've heard, like even in Florida where George lives, you know, people that have gone into the swamplands and either A, have killed themselves, or they've went and they're hurt, and all of a sudden all they find is their remains, and they're like, well, how come they must have been gone for longer than what they are? That kind of explains it.
Yeah, I think you know, again, the difference on that versus archaeologists finding dinosaur bones or even human skeletal remains is the time frame that, you know, what the elements did at that particular point in time, whether it's a volcanic ash or a meteor strike or anything that may have just preserved them instantly, versus just being exposed to the elements for days, weeks, months, years. And that's where Ken, you know, again, brings up a good point. It's really hard to find anything past a certain amount of time that's going to be discernible to be bones of a particular creature. Even those Ken, in those cases too, if they did discover something, is it almost at a point in time where they would not be able to decipher that particular bone, where it originates from, or are they sophisticated enough to do some sort of DNA work to say this DNA doesn't fit anything we know?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say in the 70s, but right now, absolutely. You can draw DNA off of, you know, anything residual that's left behind. So Satori Hawes just dropped in, by the way. I think that she's seen the Loch Ness Monster. She can maybe tell us about that later on. She lives on Johnson's Pond, or stays at Johnson's Pond here in Rhode Island, and I think they have their own lake monster there, but I can't prove it.
Yeah, we reserve that opinion on it until we know the facts. That's all. That's important.
That's it.
But Jackie, thank you so much for calling in again, as always, and stay in the chat with us if you have anything else to bring up.
I will.
Hey, get well soon, Jackie, huh?
I sure will.
Yeah.
Bye.
Got a girl.
855-472-5483. We have Michelle from Tennessee that's on with us now live on Dead Air. How are you, Michelle?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Excellent. So it was just such a cool coincidence about your show topic tonight, because yesterday I was driving through the south side of our city, which is, you know, turns into farmland and a lot of ranches out there. And I noticed as I was driving down one of the roads in the Barfield Crescent area that two ranches a couple of miles apart had a very large cryptid figure in their yard, kind of like highlighted, like you know, that something maybe had been experienced in my area. And I wondered, and it's Middle Tennessee. Have you heard of any cryptid sightings in Middle Tennessee?
Yeah. I mean,
Everywhere.
I can't give you a name of a creature or a town, but There are, or there were only at one point 2 states that had never reported a Bigfoot sighting. One was Hawaii, and one's a state I'm living in, Rhode Island. And that apparently changed somewhere in the last 12 or 15 years. Someone spotted something. The Finding Bigfoot gang came to the state. I remember I got a call saying, you should come to the town hall meeting, and they're looking for bodies. And I was like, no, I'm good, pass. I'm all set.
This was definitely, you could tell it was a kind of like an 8 or 9 foot tall, furry, bipedal, dark colored cryptid that obviously they were, given a shout out in their neighborhood.
Yeah, it was in a residential part of town, Michelle?
No, this was like on the very edge of our city, where it starts to turn into some pretty large farms and ranches out there.
These ranches, what kind of ranch? Are you talking about cattle ranches, dairy farms, things like that?
I don't know. I'm thinking mostly probably agricultural. I didn't see a lot of animals out there, but they're kind of far off the road, so I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes, for the most part, these creatures are known as omnivores. Basically, whatever the food source is, whether it's protein from other living creatures or just foraging, vegetation or whatever the case may be. That's why I was curious as to.
It appeared, definitely looked like it would have been a meat eater.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sometimes like any other animal, depending on what type of year it is, they migrate. They're going to go where the food is. They're going to go where the warmth is. So you see that's animal behavior. You see it in coyotes. You see it in a lot of animals that you don't typically see except for certain times of year, because not being stupid, they'll always follow the path of least resistance, whether that's streams or whether it's power lines that are cut out. They don't necessarily just jump around the mountains all the time. Yeah,
it's a shame I can't really Google and find much information. That's kind of interesting.
Go to a site, Bigfoot Research Organization, BFRO.com, and it will give you a state by state report on sightings in every state in the country.
One other quick thing, my daughter was about, I'd say 2 or 3 years old. She's in her bedroom. It's at night. It's on her birthday on August 1st. She's like dyslexic and just autistic, like Asperger, but extremely brilliant and gifted. Anyways, she has this one sighting of something outside her bedroom window. And for years, I thought maybe it could have been a cryptid. And she was actually way too traumatized to ever discuss it because it was something profoundly frightening to her. We actually were able to sit down tonight and discuss what she saw. And it definitely wasn't a cryptid. It was something that was like 8 or 9 foot tall. It was actually, hovering, floating. It was not solid or walking on the ground. It had a very large oval head, and she said it looked like liquid metal. It was black and white with liquid metal with a face that actually made eye contact and looked at her.
Wow.
I mean, she's not one to be any kind of, fantastical talker. This was one time happening, profound experience. She wouldn't sleep in her room. For weeks, she wouldn't sleep alone for months. I thought the little 2 or 3 year old was going to have a heart attack. And it was near a window that there was a 8 foot tall privacy fence, shrubs, trees. It wasn't anything that could have just done a pass through.
How's she dealing?
Like that.
How is she dealing with that right now? Is she
she's talking about it now, and that's really good because she didn't for years. We actually kind of laughed about it because we discussed cryptids, and I was like, oh, heck no, that's not a cryptid. That wasn't a cryptid. That's something else I've never even heard of. But we're actually able to chuckle about it now, and she's never had any other frightening thing like that.
Well, that's good. You know,
That's enough.
Yeah.
that's good. One is enough, and if
Way
she's
enough.
come to grips with it and moved on, you know, I
Right.
hope that would be the case. I mean,
And she's
you know,
able to open up a little bit, so that's good news.
yeah, I mean, if there's anyone else around or any similar sightings that anyone else had, then that might lead you down a path. But, you know, it might be just kind of a standalone thing. But, you know, if she has kind of moved on from that and nothing else has happened, then good. You know, I'm happy. I couldn't even begin to, I could give you 10 things that could be, but, you know, I had absolutely nothing definitive.
Yeah, and the fact that she is beginning to talk about this and open it up, Michelle, gives you an opportunity that down the line she may feel more and more comfortable to get into the details of her experience, which is wonderful.
Mhm.
She actually, for the first time, she's an artist. She's gonna do me an image of it so we can actually see.
Ooh.
She drew an image when she was 2 or 3, and I saw it then. But she's gonna do one now that she's more advanced in her skills.
Very good.
So
I'll
say,
Michelle, do us a favor. If
yeah,
I'm gonna put an email down below, deadairhost@gmail.com. If she renders this thing, would you mind? If you don't care, we're not going to share it with anybody, but I'm sure we'd love to see it. So if you have an opportunity maybe to take that down, and we'd love to take a look at it.
oh, I absolutely would.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you for the call tonight, Michelle, also.
Thank you for taking my call. Have a good night.
You guys
Okay.
take care.
You
Thank
take care. Yeah.
855-472-5483. Before we proceed further, also, Ken, and for those of you that are joining us mid-show, welcome. We are having open phones tonight. Unfortunately, the guest we had scheduled tonight for a cryptid show last minute could not make it. Hey, it happens. So Ken has a lot of vast experience with regards to that, and I have no problem putting up comments from the chat. Actually, we have 3 that are starred, 3 questions that we'll get to also. But Bill, if you're ready, I know there was a picture you wanted to present to everybody also, something that you guys were talking about earlier, perhaps around the aspect of Mothman or cryptids.
Actually, this is a little off topic because I really want your opinion, both of you, for something that I captured about 5 years ago at a location. Now, I don't want to get too much on the location because there's been a lot of heat, controversy.
That's okay.
But I was with a paranormal researcher. We were in the woods, and his devices said to go off into the woods off the road that leads to a lake. So we continue to go into the woods. And a lot of people have seen this video, guys. And the person that was with us, she was visiting from the UK. And people said, oh, it's probably her in the background saying what you're about to hear. It was not. We did not hear the voice. It was only after I got back home, and then I had uploaded it onto my YouTube channel. And then somebody said, Bill, I don't know if you're messing around, but there's a woman's voice saying your name. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Because we didn't hear it. But then when we seen it, we all freaked out because, again, that's a Class A EVP. So if you can, George, run that video. Just before you do, though, I slow it down in speed, half speed, so you can hear it a little better. So maybe you guys want to run that now.
What do we have it listed under?
In the videos. It's a video clip.
What is it called? Do you know?
It's I'll bring it up.
All right.
Yeah,
This is it right here, guys. So let me know what you think.
Poison ivy too, and all right, I'm gonna put my camera down a second. When something happens, it's almost like Blair Witch.
Yeah, the mozzies are out in force.
Yeah, you could feel them.
Yep. Can't hear them though.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
You're done. You're done, dude. Your number's up.
It's a Wendigo.
Your number's up. Yeah.
And I don't know what made me say if something it reminds me of something on a Blair Witch, and then that voice says my name.
I was thinking of Banshee with laryngitis.
But it was odd. Now I have to tell you guys, in 2016 at the same location, I went with this team on Halloween night, and we heard the whoop. We heard the whoop in the woods in this location, and this location has a documented case of a Bigfoot sighting. They were camping there, the dogs were going crazy, and supposedly they witnessed a Bigfoot in the same location. This location has a lot of activity, guys. A lot of activity. So I just wanted to share with you, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that. What do you think?
Did you give the? I'm sorry, because I was still looking up trying to find the actual video. Where is this location?
Dutchess County, New York.
Because a couple people once spring hits, once the thaw happens, I might want to go and check that out. Also,
True story, guys.
Pretty accessible.
It is. It's right off the Appalachian Trail. But true story is that my friends and film crews have been told not to do anything at this location.
By who and why?
Good. No, it's federal land.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'll just tell you what the heck. It's
you don't have to. I mean,
it's a place called Nuclear Lake.
Okay.
And
where the warnings come from gentlemen that were dressed in black by any chance?
Actually, it was even scarier than that.
Oh God.
Seriously, to my friend.
Yeah.
But it's this location, they had some type of facility that had a fire. I don't know if they were enriching uranium or mining it, whatever they were doing there. So that's why they came up with the phrase Nuclear Lake. But it seems like a lot of activity happens in this location. I can't tell you. Every time I go there, it's high strangeness. Another thing too, when you get near the lake, it's devoid of life. I say that all the time. You don't hear crickets. You don't hear nothing. You see nothing. No animal life. It's like, what's going on? And then when you leave, because that night we left at about midnight, we seen all the deer on the trail leading to the car where it was parked. But that was once we left the area of the lake. It's just a very bizarre place.
Mm-hmm.
That's not in the triangle, the Bridgeport Triangle, is it, Ken?
No.
Nowhere near there?
Are you guys
UFO activity there as well, Bill, or no?
I was going to say yes. There's a lake. It's a known case. It's called Whaley Lake. In the 80s, there was a case of a couple of guys on a boat, and they were old railroad tracks, and they thought it was a train coming down the tracks until it went over them. And then they had missing time. It's a very odd area up here in upstate New York. So maybe if you guys ever get together, I'll take you over there.
Really, really quickly. This is in the Hudson Valley.
Yes.
And in 1972, a chemical explosion blew out 2 windows in the experimental nuclear research lab that used to sit on the shore of the lake, blasting an unspecified amount of bomb-grade plutonium across the lake.
There you go.
So
there you go. That is the location, Ken.
Yeah.
Bill, have you tried running a Geiger counter over your body lately?
Not me, but these guys had on their phone, there was a Geiger counter device that you plug into your phone. And that might have been because we put it on video. It was off the scale.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I think that
when you pee, is anything glowing?
No, but the night after we did this investigation, we all felt ill.
Well, I mean, there may be a practical reason for keeping people away too, because if you look at Chernobyl, for example, nobody's going to be around that place for another 500 years.
Yeah.
No. It's just that's the way that these blasts work. So unfortunate, because it looks like, real quick on the picture, it looks like it's a lake. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
You know, it's just unfortunate that people are just trying to. I'm not suggesting there's still stuff going on there, or there's some underwater base. I'm just saying there's a liability factor, and in the greater good, just keep people away from it, because if it was bomb-grade plutonium, then there may be a problem there for the next 5,000 years.
You know something, Ken? You bring up a great point, and because we're going to be about to go to break, but a lot of people there's a rise in cancer cases in that area. So you're right. There's a lot of liability issues associated with it.
Absolutely. One class action suit, and that's the end of it, you know.
All right, guys, I'm out. Have a great rest of your show.
All right, Bill.
Later.
Thank you.
All right, dude.
Yeah, it gets into the water system or anything like that. Yeah, you're talking about some serious issues, to be sure. But yeah, we're going to go to break right now, guys. Please, again, feel free to call in for our second hour. Again, it's open phones for tonight. Any open topics as well. I know that Mary Reimer said earlier, I'd love to call in, but I don't know anything about cryptids. I said, no, it doesn't have to be about that.
No.
But when we come back on the other side of the break, I'm going to give my opinion about Bigfoot. You're watching Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. Stay with us, guys. We'll be back in just a minute.
Hello. Who is it? How'd you get this number?
Hey, Ken. Hey, man, it's George. Hey, man, what are you doing?
Right now, I'm trying to chop ice off of my deck here before somebody breaks their neck. What are you doing today?
Me? Oh, you know, ghost hunting. Hey, listen, Bill from KGRA wants us to do a commercial, a promo for the show for them to play. Got any ideas?
I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to film a commercial or something like that. Well, hey, why don't we just do a montage or something, like clips from the show, and just call it a day?
Okay, yeah. Just put a bunch of highlighted parts of the show. Not a problem. I'll take care of that. Listen, have a great day. I'm almost done here.
Yeah, all right, man. Let me know how you make out, all right? Yeah, you bet. Be good. I'm okay.
Tony, I love you.
I love you too. Yeah, you know what? That's why I hate when they say, "Oh, the people in the Northeast are so rude." I'm like, you. I'm down here and I'm being nice, and everybody's like, you know, not even a wave. I'm like, you're not going to get the coronavirus from waving at somebody.
A little close up view. Check this out. Hello.
Hang on, let's get us on camera again so we can wave. Wave back, Robert.
Yep.
If you wait.
Robert, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing some time, inviting us into your home.
I co-authored a book with Andrea Perrin. If anybody was not aware of
no,
that.
no one is aware of that.
No, and I've never been to the Conjuring House.
Yeah. I wrote a book
We're going to do this again.
with Andrea Perrin, and I've still never been to the farmhouse.
Did I mention I wrote a book with Andrea? I wanted to, it's over my shoulder there, and I've never been.
We took a 2-week absence from this, and now we're back with
to the Conjuring House.
Dude, I'm hiding, man. It's COVID. Oh, I'm sorry. It's
What's going on?
Love that blanket. I'm having blanket envy.
I know you are right now, right?
Yes. Sometimes I move it around with my body. It's like Ouija meets Twister. In the middle of the night, I contact spirits just by rolling around on it naked.
Watch Dead Air on KGRADB.com Sundays from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
And also, don't forget to check out KGRA YouTube and KGRA on Facebook for all the amazing shows, guests, and topics. Did I mention that I wrote a book with Andrea Perrin? And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for the second hour of our very unique call-in show tonight. Mr. Ken DaCosta and myself, George Lopez, are your conduits into the paranormal topics in regards to cryptozoology, even ufology and spirit phenomena. The number's right there, 855-472-5483. Don't forget also, guys, that you can certainly get the KGRA app. And if you want a discount, use the promo code Bill Glows in the Dark. So make sure. Boy, and I've watched that video, Ken, and I miss wearing shorts. It's been so friggin' cold up here. And I bet that video, you look at it, they're going, so that's what my yard looked like before all this white stuff all over in Rhode Island.
Right. It's just we were dealing with ice, not a problem. But I think I like snow better. But whatever. I wanted to mention, too, for those of you that are viewing right now, at where are we at right now? Following this show, there's going to be a special rebroadcast of the Tracy Austin show, and as our guest, she's going to have Uri Geller.
Look at that,
Uri Geller. So not to be missed tonight. That's following Dead Air.
I see some. I'm psychically seeing some spoon bending on that show tonight. Make sure you guys check it out. That's awesome. Number to call in again, 855-472-5483. That's 85-KGRA live. Want to thank you guys for joining us again tonight and sticking with us for the second hour. I'm going to kick it off. And so Bill's over there, of course, monitoring the phone line. So you guys feel free to call in topically. We'll get into different topics, whatever it is that you want. It doesn't have to be just about Bigfoot. It can be about any topic in regards to the paranormal and even outside of that if you'd like to. But I've addressed this, and I said this to Ken before we got on the air tonight, and we were talking. I said, we've probably done, to my recollection, 4, maybe 5 Bigfoot shows in the, some 15 years that Dead Air has been around, both on just an audio podcast and then video podcast. And I've always had the same belief, the same contention. And again, Ken and I will get on the phone 4 or 5 days a week sometimes. Lately, we've been a little bit busier trying to just stay warm and alive. But normally when the weather's nice, he'll be out in the yard. I'll be out in the yard. And we'll just get on the phone for almost 2 hours talking. So it's not uncommon for us to bring up these topics off air. But I brought this up as my belief with regards to Bigfoot. This is a global phenomenon, number one. They've been seen all over the globe, in so many different countries and continents. So it's not too different from the aspect of UFOs that people have been having these experiences everywhere. But my belief as to what these entities are pretty much just an offshoot of us. And I've used this description before, so those of you who've heard this before, bear with me. Those of you who haven't heard this for the first time, that you take a hypothetical situation of what if at some point in time in the evolution of man, there was one direction that man went where he adapted the environment to fit him, and that would be us. And the other offshoot adapted to the environment. And if you take the idea such as a polar bear, and a polar bear was not always white, and even a lot of them at birth are not, but they do change out to be more of a hunter via their camouflage, because if they were darker on the white snow, their prey would be able to escape, see them a long distance away. So in the same situation here, and I'm not going to say that this is an animal similar to an ape. This is not an animal similar to a bear or any other predator, but more so a being of high intellect. If it is living in those woods and has minimally the equal intelligence of man today, if it developed parallel, side by side to what we have over the years, they have learned things for evasion that we will never completely understand because of their heightened senses, because of the familiarity of their surroundings and what they can do. Is that a possibility versus all the other excuses and explanations that people come up with of, they beam up, that's how they disappear, or they're multidimensional, that's how they disappear? If a typical hunter went out in the woods of Georgia and they were actually stalking a person who's got jungle warfare experience under their belt, they're never going to be able to even spot them, much less get close to them to shoot or catch them. So you have a creature of amazing strength, completely covered in hair to protect itself from the elements, and has the abilities 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times better than a soldier with jungle warfare experience. You're not going to get close to them. And are there those possibilities again where they, as Michelle was talking about, run across a tree line? Sure. And there's been more and more video that's been shown out there as everybody's now got a camera or a video camera on their phone. The possibility of them being seen or captured, drones up in the air over some of these wooded areas, the possibility is certainly there. Would it ever come down to an absolute capture of one of these creatures? I don't know. And I think, Ken, was it the last show that we had on a couple of cryptozoologist specialists that they said, in order for us to validate what it is that these creatures are, we would have to kill one.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, it would be nothing less than murder at that point in time. You are killing a sentient being, and just to what? To resolve curiosity in man. It's a horrible thought to even go in that direction. But I'll throw another one at you too, is what if there is a sea creature in that same mentality? What if, again, one faction of man adapted the environment to suit them, another one went into the mountains or the hills, another one went to the sea, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of years ago, so who knows? But that is my more logical brained explanation as to why these creatures, and I believe that they absolutely do exist, but they're able to cover their tracks, they're able to remain elusive to man, is because their level of intelligence is at least equal to ours, but they have what you would call a home field advantage. And Ken, I know I brought this up to you before, but usually it's to the guests. So I want your thoughts on where I'm going with that.
Well, the idea of camouflage is what we're in essence talking about. If you look at the military, we wear one uniform in the desert, we wear another in the jungle, we wear ghillie suits, where it's all about concealment. Okay. There are 4 types of great apes. There is the gorilla, the chimpanzee, the orangutan, and human.
Right.
Okay. There are 4 great apes on this planet. I always use this correlation. And first, if we're going to talk about the octopus, who was evolved to the point that you can't spot it on the ocean floor. This is how it gets its prey. Chameleons, snow leopards, okay, in that evolutionary process. Polar bears weren't always right. You're absolutely correct. I always use this as a sort of a metaphor for this, and sometimes people don't follow this, but I use serial killers because, again, 4 great apes, these are instinctual reasoning type of creatures. If you look at a Ted Bundy or Zodiac Killer or Jeffrey Dahmer, they all were able to commit the crimes they did in large metropolitan areas, Los Angeles, Milwaukee, and so forth. As a reasoning sentient being, they were able to adapt to the surroundings and not draw attention to themselves and be able to act in public with impunity, okay, but never draw attention to themselves. I get so sick of hearing these people who commit these atrocities and the neighbors say, well, he was very quiet. He was, you know, you'd never think that this was the
Right.
kind of individual who could do this.
Unassuming.
That's because of reasoning. So if we're looking at that type of psychology, if you will, in any of the giant apes, it is not out of the realm of possibility that it's a learned behavior. It becomes genetic. It's passed down to juveniles. This is where you go. This is where you don't go. Because I do believe that at one point they lived among us. If you go back to Gigantopithecus, which is a creature who existed, sometimes 8-9 feet tall, in Indochina, in Vietnam and China, where they discovered a jawbone that they were able to recreate, and the head is like 5 times that of a human. They lived amongst Neanderthals at the time. And when the Bering Strait was landlocked between Indochina, Russia, and Alaska, and there was a migration of Neanderthals into what we would call the Pacific Northwest right now, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Gigantopithecus, living among them, came over just as they did amongst them. Because the highest concentration of Sasquatch sightings in our country is where? Washington, Oregon, Vancouver, the Pacific Northwest.
Right.
So I kind of look at this and break it down and say, well, here are the pros, here are the cons. And that's kind of the way that I look at this, because it's sort of an evolutionary process, not all that different from our own. There are people who can withstand amazing cold. And, there are people like us who, we got to turn the heat up because we don't live in that type of environment. And these creatures are constantly adapting. And I think the idea of being not seen is very much a primate trait. If you don't want to be seen or discovered or found out, then you can certainly go about your business of doing that.
Right.
Hiding in plain sight, in other words.
Yeah, I mean, it stands to reason that we, and that's the biggest problem, I think, with man is our absolute arrogance. We consider ourselves to be the apex predator amongst everything else, mainly because of our creativity, our invention. We are better than everything else that's out there, and I think that's a huge mistake with regards to humanity. That arrogance that is there, and if this particular creature were not docile, and again, this is where I kind of get a little aggravated with a lot of the paranormal field aggravates me. You know this. I've given you enough explanations and venting sessions about that. But with regards to cryptozoology, we're out there and we're whacking sticks against trees. I even made a bit of a parody about that. And then you hear the cracking back. You're in the woods. You're going to hear all kinds of noises. You talk about hearing these noises of these creatures. I remember being at Pennhurst Asylum and being inside the building, but there's no windows. It's open air, and hearing these foxes scream, and it sounds like a woman is being murdered. Had it not been for some of the people that were familiar with the area to say, oh no, those are foxes, it's a mating call. It was a terrifying sound. So there are probably some amazing sounds that are out there that can easily be explained. whether it be a bear, or whether it be any type of predator that's out there. So if you're looking at something that is this elusive, I doubt they're going to be wrapping trees against for your response, or a lot of it just really strains credulity. And as far as I'm concerned right now, I'm thinking that 90% of what is out there, what's been brought out there to evidence, has been man-made.
Yeah,
That's
I
my
mean,
thoughts on it.
but you can still talk about language though, and communication, because if you want someone's attention in the wilderness, we figured out how to shoot up flares or start a fire and send up smoke, right? We figured out how to ping a cell phone. So if sound and language are part of, how we communicate, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that any primate at some level, can do the same thing.
No,
without
even
the
greater.
aid of technology,
What if they're able to fire off particular pheromones that
Sure.
again ream of danger? That this is something that they have created for thousands, if not tens of thousands of years over time, and how to avoid man, going all the way back to Native American heritage, where if there were tribes that were looking to hunt these creatures, they were not going to be successful at that also. And I happen to think personally too that there was a spiritual bond, at least in this country, with Native Americans, and it could be in a lot of these other countries too, where a lot of more of the ancient civilizations really kind of had this bond with them and kind of kept their secret safe. It wasn't that they were going to, tell tales about this to their ancestors and pass it down. This was kind of a pact, a secret pact between them. And, when we're saying things such as the last show that we talked about this topically, is the only way we're going to be able to absolutely get proof is if we kill one, was the statement of our guest. And I'm not saying that our guest was wrong or how dare you. It's the mentality of man. It's the mentality of a lot of people that are out there. But when you have shows on the Discovery Channel or Travel Channel called Hunting Bigfoot, that tells you everything right there. When we have been brainwashed, Ken, for how many decades now with regards to when the UFOs land, what's the first thing? Let me get my gun out.
Well,
First and foremost,
that particular show was just a nod to the paramilitary shows that were on at the time. Okay, survivalists and things like that, doomsday preppers.
Yeah.
So they just decided to throw a paranormal element into it, and we saw that with other shows. An Amish haunting, because Amish shows were big at the time. So that's the hook. That's all it was. It was just doing something a little bit different. We're going to do this paramilitary style. But we're going to hunt Bigfoot. It's like, great idea, guys.
Ken, I want to get back to a couple of these questions that were in
Sure.
chat earlier that I wanted to definitely come back with. And of course, those you guys that would still like to call in for the second hour, 855-472-5483, 85 KGRA Live. Guys, it doesn't have to be particularly about Bigfoot. Anything you want to talk about with regards to the paranormal. Our good friend Jeff Hilton has his question. Ken, do you think that many cryptids go without evidence because the locals don't want it messed with?
Well, all I can tell you is I can't remember the town, and I believe it's in California, where they have designated a Bigfoot sanctuary and made it illegal to kill the creature. Now, I don't know if
Amen.
that's just a way to stop people from firing guns at
On
each other
yeah.
in the woods, whatever the case may be. But
Right.
in a lot of these towns, particularly in California, Bigfoot, just like Champ is in Vermont and in parts of Canada, they're a big tourist attraction. So of course, creating this idea that they do exist is a boon to the local economy. Whether you believe or not, people will go to Lake Champlain to try to spot a lake monster. And that's fine. They're going to eat, they're going to spend money, they're going to get hotels, and they're going to buy little plushy, dinosaur looking dolls. I know that doesn't exactly answer the question, but I think in some of these places, Jeff, because somebody sees these things who has a certain standing in the community and they know each other. And, you know, sometimes from the time that they were kids and they know their family, and if they report something, then they tend to believe them and assign them a little bit more credibility. So I think in some cases, the locals are very protective, whether whatever side of it is you're on, the legend or the actual creature. You know, however you come down on it, locals are absolutely very protective of it on either end of the argument. So
You know,
we see that, you know, all over the country.
and this may sound a little bit sophomoric, but at the same time, I think it's unintentional genius with one of my favorite Bigfoot movies. I think everybody's Harry and the Hendersons, because it gave you an example of all three mentalities with regards to this creature. One, the hunter, who was hell bent because of an experience that he had had years earlier, that he was still out there not only to prove its existence, but kill it to prove its existence. And then there was the layman's interaction with a Sasquatch, which was initial panic. You know, you see this 8, 9, 10-foot tall creature, and you've already been brainwashed to panic at the sight of this thing, run away. And then there was the adaptability. Those people who found that this creature had personality, it was gentle, it had a sense of humor, it had a sense of family, everything all encompassed in this very simplistically designed movie that, again, kind of wraps it all up together. None of that has changed. And when was that movie out? That had to be 1980s. But
which one was that?
Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh, Harry and the Hendersons. Yeah, that was sometime in the mid '80s. Yeah.
And yet that there's still all the stereotypes still apply today. It's incredible.
Well, we did the same thing to E.T., where we homogenized the creature.
Yes,
you know, an
needed
alien,
to.
a friendly, you know, alien who was just misunderstood, and it was the same thing with Sasquatch. We've gone both ways on that. We're kind of back, I think, a lot of times, because I noticed, I'm not going to jump ahead of your questions, but Steve Humphrey, has anyone heard of a Sasquatch killing someone? Going to take an opportunity to plug the show we were talking about before, Extremely Strange, where I'm going to get into the case of a small town in Alaska that was supposedly abandoned because Bigfoot was murdering the locals. I'm not going to give away the end as far as what we think, but
wow.
I don't think that, you know, we have no documentation, but there are stories like this particular town in Alaska and others. Alaska seems to be ground zero for a lot of this stuff now, people going missing. And I think people are starting to, you know, they connect the dots a little bit as far as that, like, well, how else could you possibly go missing in Alaska, in unforgiving wilderness, taking a hike by yourself? I mean, what else could happen to you? It has to be Bigfoot, you know, so
Yeah. Well,
I don't
there's
know.
no other predators out there, you know. There's
Yeah,
no-
it's a little bit of a leap, but I'm not putting down anybody who's putting that explanation forth. I mean, you have to prove it, but you know, it makes good TV.
Sure.
I mean, it raises the question. I mean, let's let if we're going to be honest, let's be completely honest. You know, it makes a good show, and you know, you can get some mileage out of it.
Yeah, but I mean, just like you were mentioning E.T., and again, that was another 80s hit by Steven Spielberg. The changeover, though, I would say in the last, and during the beginning of this particular century, is that a lot of them, such as, I'm going to forget the name of the movie now, with Keanu Reeves. You guys in the chat want to tell me which one that is. He plays the alien, the Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah,
but I like
Nikdu.
But I like now, which was again a remake. But I like again, Ken, that within the last 20 years or so, how a lot of these sci-fi based films are now making humans the bad guy in a lot of these circumstances. Before we were just the innocent, go to work, come home, take care of the kids, mow the lawn, and we get attacked by the UFOs or the cryptids or the ghosts. And now it's showing a little bit more of an empathic line of understanding what it is that we are encountering out there. That there's more to it than just let's make it scary, let's make it frightening. And again, from a social media standpoint, fear sells, but this is more of a way of understanding that our fear is a horrible drive when it comes to discovery, without question. And we can get into, and those of you who listen to the show regularly get into Cody and Satori and what they're doing right now. Empathy is key. Instead of going into place and fearing that the demon is going to attack us around every corner, that there are just lives being lived on the other side. Our fear drives us way too much. Another question for you, Ken, in the same topic, from Benjamin. Is Chupacabra a cryptid? I always wondered if that was real.
By the definition of cryptozoology, animals that are not in the scientific catalog, yeah, the Chupacabra would be listed among cryptids. The short answer. What it actually is. I mean, amazingly, this started in, South America, and then in Mexico, and then in Texas. So it seems to be a migratory thing. Oftentimes, these things are like, coyotes with incredibly bad mange, things like, there have been some reports that are credible. And when I say credible, I just mean they can't be disproven. It's something a little bit different, but typically it's from a part of the canine family, one way or the other. It could be some type of breed between, we see coy wolves right now, and they've migrated to the Northeast, and they're monsters. They're absolute monsters. Their paws are like this. So oftentimes, a certain type of crossbreeding will produce a very different looking animal. But short answer is, yeah, in the terms of the Chupacabra, or goat sucker, as in Spanish, yeah, it falls into the category of a cryptozoological animal, just for the idea that it is not something that's in the scientific catalog right now.
Yeah, I think back again to Josh Gates and Destination Truth, and I think the first two seasons, and it was a great, I would say it was an entertaining show. It took you around the world. There was some humor involved with it.
Cool.
The same dramatics as always, going to commercial with a heightened song and then come back. This is nothing whatsoever. It falls into that same category as it would be with anything under cryptozoology, ufology. If there was evidence captured, it wasn't going to be on 6 weeks later or 6 months later on the show. It was going to be on the 6 o'clock news. So case in point too, they went out looking for Chupacabra, never discovered anything where they were looking for. But again, very elusive. If they're in a particular area of a jungle, these things could be hundreds of miles away and never even come close to where they're investigating, but they still have to make it entertaining. Which again leads me to the same thing, Ken. My question for you with regards to this entire umbrella, everything that we covered there too, is it self-manifestation in a lot of these cases with people, because they're going out there and seeking either notoriety or seeking answers, and humans don't really have the best patience when it comes to this on a whole. There are people out there that are fantastic, and they'll just continuously do the grind until magic happens. But there's so many others out there that they make the magic happen in their own mind or in their own creativity, simply because of the fact they put the time and effort in there. So I guess what I'm asking you at this point in time is, is there a potential possibility that we will ever get to that concrete evidence, or is it always going to be supposition what we're experiencing right now?
I think that there is probably a case to be made for anything that's in the physical realm
Yeah.
of proof, whether it's flesh and blood or something else, something that exists in our physical realm. You know, people continue to insist that, you know, they've seen aliens, they've seen a Sasquatch, you know, they've seen lake monsters, you know, they exist in our physical realm. You could probably make a case for, I mean, which is going to be proven first, you know, ghosts, cryptids, or aliens. I would probably put the idea of ghosts probably third, and this is something I've spent decades doing. I'm convinced that something exists in the spiritual realm, because as far as I know, nobody's ever shaken hands with a ghost. You know what I mean? So there's probably a case to be made that something that actually exists and has mass and density and leaves footprints behind and trace evidence and some type of residue would probably be able to be proven much sooner, you know, than something that isn't.
Yeah. They can, you know, again, from the measurement of man versus this creature, that there is no way that we will win that battle, but technology could give a whole another advantage for this, whether it be thermal imaging, whether it be the drones that they're using right now. And unfortunate part of it is a deforestation also, that somewhere along the way, this is going to be an inevitability. Question is, once that happens, how are we going to accept this mutual existence at that point in time? You know, are we going to be fearful because the intellect is the same, if that's the case, or are we going to be able to be in a harmonious environment? Which one's more expected,
Well,
do you think, Ken?
I just think that we have this thing in us for conflict as human beings from the beginning of time. The only thing that we know that we do well and consistently is conflict and war. And it's been a staple of who we are back to the time of Neanderthals.
Right.
So I look at it the same way as when the first settlers came to North America, whoever that is. You know, people talk about the Pilgrims. I mean, it could have been the Vikings, whoever got here first. I'm sure at some point when they came abroad, the first living beings they saw were indigenous people. And from the beginning, there was not conflict. I think there was a mutual curiosity. There wasn't an immediate, we must repel you. I think we just had that innate human curiosity. It's only when we began to infringe upon them that conflict started. So we have this thirst for power and territory, particularly territory, because we wanted to control the waterways for trade and for food and so forth. And it was just a case of, well, wait a minute, why do you think we live here? We figured that out long before you folks got here. So I think that in terms of a new species, I'm talking about the day when contact is made, whether that's with, you know, Bigfoot or ET, there will always be that thing who gets to be the boss here. You know, who gets to control what. And the one thing we know as man is we do enjoy our conflicts. We can't seem to get away from it.
Right.
You know, it's always an infringement or an encroachment. Usually that triggers this. It's less ideological and political and religious than we think, and it's more a case of encroachment. You see what's going on in Ukraine right now.
Yeah.
And that's what it's really all about. You know, whether it's North Korea, South Korea, Taiwan, it's all about encroachment.
Yeah, but and it's an excellent point you just brought up there, Ken. It really is. I just I wonder again, going all the way back to Native Americans and that first exposure, whether or not the same thing that I believe now, which is fear, whether it was intentional or it was manipulation, whether it be through religion or be through politics, fear. They're going to kill us, so we got to kill them before they kill us, kind of a thing. When they were the most peaceful, docile people who've been living here forever. I don't know. It really is. It's terrifying to think that that kind of discovery could end in such tragedy. In any of those cases, as you said, cryptozoology, or again, an alien contact, the craziness of what we are, who we are. And we'll do damage to ourselves also. Same Jim Jones type of scenario, where we'll all start drinking the poison Kool-Aid because we can't live under the rule of aliens now. How are we going to deal with that?
I mean, if you look at cattle mutilations and so forth, it's posited that this is experimentation being done. And whether it's Travis Walton, Benny Barney Hill, some of the more noted abductees, you're talking about experimentation. If we had a Bigfoot in our midst, do you think we would shake his hand, or do you think we would render them and immediately vivisect them like a frog in middle school science class?
No question. No question. The only thing is whether or not there's enough media exposure to this discovery. That's the biggest thing. Somebody, let's say, captures and or kills a Sasquatch, and they call their local law enforcement. Well, that may be monitored, and the next call to the law enforcement is, "We'll handle that. We're with the government." And they go out to this guy's ranch, and everything is taken care of, whether he's bought off or taken out of the picture, where they'll recover this creature itself. Now, difference is if he's captured and the person calls the local news and it's already been aired, now we got a whole nother story.
Yeah.
You never know. Again, it's a sad state of affairs. I think with regards to UFO connection, there is, right now, James Webb is 6 months out from really being able to send some of the first pictures back. And you even wonder if that's going to be, again, under government control. We'll see things minutes, hours, days, months after it has been downloaded and reviewed. Okay, we can show this. Oh, we can't show this. But if something were to get out that really shows, hey, we're not alone in the universe, there are a lot of people out there that are going to be panicking, to say the least. Number to call in tonight, again, it's open line. So we're looking for you guys to call in. Any questions, anything that you want to say comment-wise, 855-472-5483. That's 85-KGRA Live. Grab that phone, give us a call. Bill is waiting for your call on there. Got about, let's say, a little less than 20 minutes left here, so you still have a little bit of time, guys, so definitely give a call in. But, again, and there's a lot of people that are talking about ET, a lot of people talking about the Bigfoot in the chat, and a lot of them had different opinions to it. Some wondering whether or not they are alien related, and I think you've pretty much expressed your thoughts on that, Ken. Not really, huh?
Yeah, I try to dabble a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that have I seen a Bigfoot? No, but I mean, I see the moon. I don't question it exists, but I've never been to the moon, but I have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
I don't think you necessarily have to, be a professional football player to have an opinion on a team. As long as it is a learned opinion, where, some facts come into play. So when I look at all of these things, whether it's cryptids, whether it's ghosts and hauntings, UFO phenomena, I will have an opinion, but I try like hell to base it on different points of view. And eventually at the end of the day, it comes down to, well, how could this happen? Because that's the existential question. How could this happen? Could Gigantopithecus have joined Neanderthals coming over to North America? Well, yeah, they lived at the same time. Okay. They lived amongst each other. Okay. Maybe they traversed the Bering Strait as well. Okay. The large population in the Pacific Northwest where all of this got started. My biggest question, because, all of this stuff just leads to more questions. That's just the way it is. Because they're so regional, I think we asked this of Cliff Barackman, we had from Finding Bigfoot. We had him as a guest. And I asked him, do you think there are different races of Bigfoot? And he said no. Bigfoot's Bigfoot. That's it. I mean,
I don't know if I agree.
I mean, I don't know if we're looking at, I understand orangutans are orangutans, and yeah, I get all that. People are people, the giant apes and everything. But still, there are subsets in there. So,
yeah.
Hey, listen, not to take Cliff Barackman to task, because the guy's forgotten more than I'll know about that particular subject, but I wasn't really convinced that, because there are some that are seen at 5 feet tall. There are some at 9 feet tall. I mean, are they juveniles, or have we evolved to the point where geography plays? I'm not saying that, the swamp ape talks with a, with a southern accent or anything like that. But, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but, I don't know. Just again, these raise more questions, and I think it's healthy to ask those questions. Why the hell not?
I think that we, as conscious human beings, we have to consider all kind of possibilities of what's out there and not dismiss things unless they are within a realm of ridiculousness, and that exists out there also. Do I believe that it's a multidimensional creature? No. Do I believe they get beamed up at night? No. I think, again, they're
I'm with
extremely.
you. I don't think so.
No, they're elusive. I think they're absolutely highly intellectual. And again, thinking back to when we were in grade school, Ken, how we talked about that the world's masses were all one big mass millions of years ago.
Right.
And so as the mantle and the core kind of shifted and it split up into different continents, could families of these creatures have been split up? Yes, it's a possibility, and this is why we have like the abominable snowman or the Yeti. They're white, similar to what you hear about polar bears for survival, for hunting. This is where they have to camouflage themselves, both for their prey and for their predators, man.
Right.
Skunk ape, same situation. So different areas all over the world, all the way to Russia and the Ukraine. There's been recent spottings in those areas too, alleged, that they are all the same species. They fall into the same category.
Right.
But you look at man, and you look at every shape and size of man, woman, child that's out there. So why couldn't that also be the situation with this particular species of creature? So, I don't think that they are separate and distinct. I think that they have a genetic connection, and I think they also have a genetic connection to us.
Right.
God, I'm thinking back to, all of a sudden it popped in my head was Jojo, the dog-faced boy, and his genetic problem that his face was completely covered in fur.
God, I had the affliction, right? I forgot what it was, but yeah, the abnormal growth of hair. Not
So
alopecia. No, that's loss of hair. Anyway.
So I mean, they're globally in existence. The sightings still continue on. But again, what seems fascinating is there is not a lesser advanced or a lesser intellectual group of them where they're being caught regularly in in Chile. In Chile, you can pick them out of the water. They're so easy. You can grab them. Nope. They have all mastered the skill set of elusiveness of man, and I think that's incredible. We've got another call. We got time for one more caller on the queue. That's Ben in Chicago joining us tonight here on Dead Air. Good evening, Ben. How are you?
Hey, Ben.
Pretty good, George and Ken. How are you guys doing today?
Excellent. Outstanding. Good to hear from you, man.
I'm friggin' cold.
Yeah. Awesome. No, it's cold over here for sure. I'm with a sweater indoors.
You're telling a guy from Chicago that you're cold. It's just kind of like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
supposed to be. It's
wave the
supposed
white
to be.
flag on that.
You ever just
Chicago cold.
Yeah, I got a quick one for you guys, and a great show by the way today.
Thank you.
I think for me it's more I think the first sighting I saw as a kid, it was pretty awesome. I guess I was in Mexico, where we're in my family, Catholic family. We're praying a rosary outside my grandmother's house, and in the middle of the night, beautiful stars out there, hardly any light pollution. But looking up, I see there's one star, of course, spinning in circles and moving forward. And no clouds in the sky, by the way. Perfect clear night. Things spinning in circles and moving from left to right. And it literally just vanishes, doesn't just out of thin air. And it was as far as a star, like that's how far away it was. And I remember looking down and I noticed my aunt. I was in grade school at the time, and I remember looking at my aunt and telling her in Spanish, like, what was that? And she just responded, "Oh, era una bruja," like it was just a witch. And at the time I was just like, "Oh, okay," and I didn't question it until like years later. I was, especially in like as a young kid, question your Hispanic elders, especially about religious stuff.
No, boy, I'm with you on that, Ben.
So I kind of
look at the name, Ben. Look at the name. So yeah, I think I can relate.
Exactly. I figured you guys knew that one. But yeah, and it wasn't until I was older, and I still haven't talked to my aunts about this because they live in Mexico, right? But that was always a weird one to me, and I've always seen random lights like that. I've had one with my girlfriend in my old apartment. I was in the yard smoking a cigarette at 3 a.m. Yes, a little drunk, but that doesn't. I always tell people you're not seeing shit flying in the sky. But basically, this one was like two stars. That's how I can put it, 2 bright stars. There was one cloud off to the left, and they kind of like came out of there. Actually, one came out, and I tell my girlfriend, I'm like, look at this bright one. She's like, look, another one, and then it starts coming out, and I yell at her to go run and get the camera. And right when she runs in, they dim away. Like they don't go left, right, up, or down. They just dim to the point where they're just not there. In my imagination or my head, think they shot out into space, and I was really just seeing them, zip out rather than go up or down or whatever. I remember she came up, where did they go? She was mad that she didn't get to see them leave, but there was always just random things like that. I don't know. Those are probably the 2 bigger ones that I've had.
Yeah, but you know what? And I think we got about 4 minutes here. So the thing that I'll address about that, Ben, is you say that you have seen probably more than the average person sees. And I don't necessarily think it's because you're a target or anything like that. I think that once you've had an experience, you become more in tune with that. You might tend to look up in the sky more than the average person does and take it for granted because you have had an experience. And that is the same way as someone who has seen a Bigfoot or seen what they feel is a ghost. I think you just become more aware of your surroundings. So I just wanted to touch on that because a lot of people say, well, I've seen so many things and some people haven't seen a lot. And I only think that a lot of that is because of you just being more observant because of some things that's happened to you in the past. So it's like, take a look up there, and you can't find anything without looking.
Yeah, that's what I always tell people. You got to just pay more attention.
Yeah.
I've been working nights, God knows how long. Besides the paranormal investigating, I've been working nights just in the Central Florida area for 15 years, driving back and forth from where I live to Daytona and back. So let's say moderately modestly 15,000 nights that I've driven back and forth. In 15,000 nights, I've only seen 2 anomalies. So it is an extremely rare opportunity, extremely rare privilege for that kind of thing to happen. And I appreciate you calling and sharing that with us as well. Thank you so much for doing that.
I thank you guys for listening and giving me your info. That's awesome.
Yeah, you're the best, Ben. Thank you, man.
Take care.
Hey, no problem. You guys have a great night.
You as well.
Yeah, I had fun with this tonight. I got a chance. We actually got a chance to interact with everybody. That's awesome.
You know, if you didn't say that, I was going to say it too. I had an absolute ball doing this. I love to talk to, so many familiar names. And we've said this all along. Some of the opinions expressed in our chat room, it's like we have what I refer to as a wicked smart audience. And we appreciate each and every one of you. You got some great insights and opinions. And I love doing this once in a while and just breaking down and turning the show over to the viewers and just having a conversation with them. It's great. It's fun.
So what you're saying is you're looking for a replacement for me. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no, you can come along too,
Oh, okay. Yeah, we could do 10 screens or something up here. We can go.
Yeah, you're wicked smart. So
enjoy that. But I want to, again, I want to thank everybody who joined in, both in the chat and also those call-ins. You guys have been fantastic as always.
Good for you.
Ken and I want to thank you all. And we'll be back again next week at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Make sure, again, Extremely Strange, brand new show going to be coming out here shortly. Exclusive on Dead Air Full Spectrum here on YouTube. So you guys stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, give me the thumbs up, smash that thumbs up, and the reminder bell for upcoming content.
Do it.
Until we see you guys next week, thank you so much for joining us. My name is George Lopez. With me, as always, Mr. Ken DaCosta. Wherever you are at, stay warm, stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Thank you. Take care.